Okay, so hello, welcome to today's edition of Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston, and I'm the host of the show, and also the president of the Endowed American Network Foundation, which is responsible for Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness, how we're progressing along the road and trying to introduce the concept that you can be kind, and not only to the community, but also kind to yourself by using the benefits that government gave us. In Route 664 is about Section 664 of the tax code and what we call social security, which is a way for you to have income for yourself and then benefits for all. And this is a very important part of our society. It is the necessity of our society that we have a way to enhance the thoughts of ourselves and increase what others know about things that we care about. And caring about something, it comes from a lot of different sources, a lot of different reasons why people want to support causes or set up their own causes to be supported. And my guest this morning is Rebecca Thyssen. Rebecca has a personal reason for doing her philanthropy that's very significant. And Rebecca joins us now. Good morning. How are you, Rebecca?
Good morning, Les. I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking.
Yes. So your story is one many people experience. So could you give us a little story, tell us a little story about how your philanthropy came about?
Certainly. I wish actually that I didn't even have to talk about this, but my only child, who was a fireman and EMT for Seminole County, was just randomly coming back from lunch on a beautiful Friday with his friends, and a rideshare driver that was from out of town had just dropped off a ride and was a little bit lost, took 4 lanes across and wiped my son out. I will say in the worst of times, which that began 8 days of total hell for me, I learned a lot, of which I'm taking some of that back to Seminole County and other counties to help them with what I learned there. But I also, in the worst of times, found such beauty between the total strangers that had benefits in Connor's behalf that are not relatives, are not really even friends, total strangers, the nurses from the hospital, a gentleman with a roofing company that had no attachment to it, but volunteered to do that, which is part of what I'm using to set up this endowment scholarship. But Connor was one of the lucky ones that absolutely loved helping people. It was in his nature from early on. It's who he was. So being a fireman and EMT was perfect for him. And what I learned also is that this brotherhood and sisterhood that he belonged to are the most amazing people. And they're not just there in the moment. They were there at the hospital every single day. I'm not exaggerating by saying hundreds of them. They had to get us special rooms for this. Mm-hmm. And then they've been there all along. I wanted to take something that was the worst of and take something that Connor loved, which was the job that he did, more of a calling than a job, and open a scholarship up for other people applying to be firemen, EMTs, paramedics, because it's not a normal tuition. It's a program that they have to be accepted into. And so that's the endowment scholarship that I'm starting. But I'm also trying to empower along the way other parents and young people, because the thing that I learned after his 4 emergency surgeries to just keep him alive was that the minute he gets admitted to a hospital, the first thing that they ask is, does he have a living will? Does he have a durable power of attorney or a healthcare surrogate? And I stood there thinking, well, he's 25. I have mine. I have all of mine done with everything that I've lined up for my future, but I'm thinking, not that I'm aware of. And what happens is in the state of Florida, if they don't have this, his father that we had not ever been together, but co-parented, but hadn't had a conversation in 10 years, you have to stand there and you have 2 minutes to decide if you can co-proxy and agree on everything. If the answer is no, or if you're one of those acrimonious people that you just can't get along, you have to get an emergency hearing before a judge. And that only happens in an hour's time on TV. Otherwise, it's a process. And the hospital has to go by way of life. So no matter what the outcomes, no matter how many surgeries, no matter how many complications, they have to keep vying for life. And so I found through this that if a young person is 18 or older and not married, we assume that we are their parents until we no longer exist. Yeah. That is not the case in the state of Florida. As soon as they're 18, they belong to the state of Florida, and they would have to have all those things as well, especially in the high-risk fields like police, firemen, EMT, where every day you're putting your life out there, not like an accountant or an IT person that's your chances are it's only, if it's a car accident, but it's important to have that paperwork. And so through another thing that I'm starting to set up, and Seminole County is working with me on it. I've spoken before the graduating cadets last time. They're going to make it part of their curriculum before the onboarding and pinning ceremony, working with Orlando, Orange County, Lake County. And it is my intent to go through the state of Florida with anything that's first responder and make sure that these people have this paperwork filled out so that their people, whoever they choose them to be, are empowered, because it's about the piece of paper. And 2 of them require a witness and a notary, and 1 of them doesn't even require that. But until you have it happen to you, you don't know. And had my child died upon impact, I wouldn't know this. I only know this because 8 days went by. And I have told the cadets to make sure that with their families, they have those difficult conversations that if something happened, and here's the paperwork, I've empowered you. And, if something happens, here's where it is.
Somebody needs to be telling people to do this. That's for sure.
Exactly. I've told every friend of mine, and I said, here's the thing. At 18, you'll give your kid a car, and that's a loaded weapon. You'll send them off to college, and they'll have fentanyl dropped in their drink, and you don't have any rights. And even where the insurance is concerned, you can sign something that releases you from HIPAA, but if they don't know to do that and you don't, it doesn't even matter if you're the one fronting and paying for their insurance. You can't talk to their insurance, but that's a HIPAA thing. The rest of the stuff is a state of Florida thing. And so I think anybody that's got a high schooler or anyone over 18, I'm trying to find a means to get this information out, because there's no cost involved. But if you don't have it and have it in writing, and when I spoke before the cadets, I'm like, don't mistake a living will for anything material. It is about your body and what are your wishes for your body. For instance, if you were in a coma for a month, you could say, if I've been there that long, pull the plug, see what my body will do naturally. But you have to have a healthcare surrogate that will follow through on that. And it doesn't have to be your parents.
So, there's I don't mean to interrupt you, but the Aging with Dignity organization publishes a pamphlet called the 5 Wishes booklet. And the 5 Wishes booklet allows an individual to create their own living will, their own surrogate health statement, their own surrogate health person. And I think that you may want to consider distributing those to the, finding a way to, I think they charge for them. I'm not sure what the amount is now. We used to buy them in bulk, and we used to offer them as part of our radio show when we were doing Funny Money. People could call in and get the 5 Wishes booklet sent to them. They're not expensive, but I think that would be a very, very good way for the first responders that you're talking about, people who are going into that field, to have a way to do that uniformly, where you're giving them something that they can use. Just an idea, but we also have it on our website as well, where if people want to have access to the 5 Wishes booklet, we can provide it to them. But Aging with Dignity does publish them. I'm happy to help you with that. I don't think people really understand. Young folks do have the need to do that document, even though they may not own anything, they may not have be married or anything. And in fact, in those situations, it's even more important. But even when you're married, you do have to appoint your surrogate health person, because doctors have the right to make decisions on your behalf if you're not giving them someone else to do that. Yes. And that can be a problem sometimes. So Tell me a little bit more about Connor. When did he decide to become a firefighter?
Um, Probably about the time he was 21. He comes from a family of firefighters, police officers, military veterans. So he comes from a service background. And I remember having dinner with him one night, and he was in college, but wanted to break it to me. And he says, Mom, he was asking me if I would meet him for dinner, and I knew he picked a neutral place, and I thought, this is very bizarre. And so I sit down with him. I go, what do you want to talk about? He goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, Connor, normally you would come to my house for dinner. So what's up? And he goes, well, I know you're not going to want to hear this. I said, ooh, and I know you're not starting this conversation telling me how I think, because that won't have a good end result. Then it's a monologue, not a dialogue. He's like, Mom, why do you do that? I'm like, because I'm here to be your teacher, because someday you'll have a wife or a girlfriend that will help you. Anyway, I said, close your eyes, reframe this. And he closed his eyes and he said, okay, I really think I want to go into the fireman and EMT program. I said, great. He's like, what? I love surprising him, like not letting him know that I actually know how he thinks. But from that time that he had decided that, he got into it. And there were things all along the way. If you look at a person as they're growing up, they do show you who they are. He was the first to go help a Down syndrome girl cross the street because she got frustrated with the crosswalk, and he would run over there and help her. Or just randomly to strangers, he saw an older gentleman pass out while at a light. He was at a light in his car, and he passed out, and Connor was still in the program, ran the light, pulled the truck up in front of him, started assessing him. A police officer sees him run the light, comes up behind him, realizes he's on with 911, working on the older gentleman. A paramedic also at that light comes up behind, and both of them worked on him together. And I said, Connor, it's a calling, because that would not have played out like that if that was me that saw that. I might have dialed 911, but I'm not going to do anything to help because, one, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's a special calling for special people. Not everyone has it. I'm certainly not one that has it, but he did.
Well, the irony is that that's not what happened. He really, that's dangerous. It can be very dangerous and certainly life-threatening in many instances, but that's not what affected Connor's demise. That was something that was a random accident.
Yes.
And that's just, I'm sure there was a very difficult time, and what comes out of that, if you can help someone else solve that kind of a problem, that's the work that we do as philanthropists, and we admire that about you, and we respect that very much because it's so important for everybody to be able to reach out with things that can help others. So the Connor Max Firefighter Memorial Endowment Scholarship.
To pay it forward and help other people that have that calling get their education and get on with whichever county or city that they choose to. But it's a special person calling, that's for sure.
Well, it's a unique person that wants to go into that calling. They are servants to us all, and we appreciate their service, and we appreciate you being the mom of someone who provided that service. And we wish you Godspeed with your endowment, with your endeavor to get social benefits to others that can be worthwhile, and using the Memorial Endowment to do that. That's a great thing. If we could help you in any way, we would obviously, we're available to you. The Endowed American Network Foundation is all about endowing nonprofit organizations, and we're happy to assist.
Trying to pay it forward with both helpful information and to empower other people to potentially go in that same field if that's what theirs is, and find one or a couple positive things to come out of what was the most negative and traumatic thing to happen in my life, because I think that's what Connor would want. He was very giving. He was a beautiful soul. The world has a loss in that one.
Is there a way that you have, are you showing your endowment, are you showing the fund anywhere online so people can get in touch and donate that way?
Yes, Seminole County will help promote that through Facebook and Instagram. It'll be on Instagram with multiple means on that one. It is relatively new because this only happened 5 months ago. So the scholarship is just coming out. And yes, there will be ways. If you go to Seminole State College and scholarships, it will be there. And we used the name Connor first, so that it would be toward the top of the list alphabetically. So
Okay.
Trying to just honor Connor.
Good. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
On Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. We're very happy to be part of the opportunity to serve in that capacity. And thank you very much for letting us know about this opportunity for people who want to become first responders. You'll help them with scholarships, and you're also promoting the idea that they need to do things, take care of the paperwork that needs to be done. Everybody,
themselves and their families.
age 18 and over, and
That's
you don't need an attorney to do that. By the way, you can do it, as you said, if you get it notarized. In some cases, don't even have to have it notarized. In the state of Florida, it doesn't require a notary. It can be done just by 2 witnesses and can be updated. So I think the Five Wishes booklet would be a good means for that.
Great, thank you.
Yes, and thank you. And we'll be right back.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, headaches, anxiety, depression, sleep disorders, hormone imbalances, ADHD, or any other condition that's disrupting your quality of life? With the Body Chem program, you can feel better than you have in years. We'll test you for nutritional and chemical imbalances and design a specific dietary plan for your individual needs. Everything we do is natural, and you won't be subjected to invasive procedures and harsh pharmaceuticals. When you're healthy, you're happy. Why wait? Call today.
We've got best-selling authors.
You are going to start to uncover all the layers that are covering your genius.
And some of the world's top leadership experts.
We have structured a mastermind program that is very unusual, and it is very powerful.
Robin Sharma at noon.
Your creativity will soar, your productivity will be epic, your impact will be legendary, you will be the best in the business, and you will not only achieve remarkable things, but you're going to feel sunsets. You'll feel a connection to people. You'll feel for what's going on in the world, and that will make you a world changer in your own unique way.
Robin Sharma at noon at 4 p.m.
It's a
Blaine Bartlett.
Exploration of what it takes to be a highly effective leader in today's fast-changing environment.
Best-selling author, executive, and leadership coach.
And if you've been liking what you've been listening to on these Soul of Business podcasts, how does one become a leader that can keep connection to the soul of business?
Blaine Bartlett at 4 p.m.
Look forward to seeing you there.
At Route664.org. This is Route 664 Radio.
World can benefit from human kindness and reaching out to help others based on principles that you operated with your whole life and through the way that you experience things. And Rebecca sadly had a way given to her to help the community and do things in general, when that's what we're all about. We want you to become more philanthropic. We want you to become familiar with Section 664 of the tax code. 664 equals E squared. That's the theory of social charity. And it's very important right now in our country, in our present financial position. This is the way that we can change the economics of the country. We can change from being politically driven to economically driven and individually controlled. That's the benefit of Section 664 and the theory of social charity. We have a way of making things better economically by reducing the amount of tax that individuals pay and redirecting that tax dollar into the charitable community. That was the intent of Congress in 1969 when they passed these sections of the tax code, and they made these very powerful tools available to everybody. We just don't know how to use them. And you may be wondering why you haven't heard about it, or why somebody hasn't told you about the powers of 664 and social charity. And that's because it's been a well-kept secret for 50 years, over 50 years. The wealthy in the country, the ultra-wealthy in the country, have been using charitable planning for ages, and they've been benefiting from it. And so you now have the availability. You can make use of this phenomenal power. And the reason for that is technology, and there's more individuals now who understand how to do this kind of work. The folks that we are recommending you consider are on our Council of Professional Philanthropic Advisors. If you go to socialcharity.org, there's a place where you can find an advisor, and the advisors are listed there because we believe that these are the people that have the skill sets to be able to help you wend your way through the charitable financial planning arena using these social charity devices. It's very important to have people that are qualified because there are so many different innuendos, different ways of dealing with these trusts, and they're so powerful. Just having one is powerful, but having the right one is really powerful. And doing the transaction with a trust that you have complete understanding of and understanding how it works and the benefits that you get from it is really very powerful, very important. So we're all about education. We want to educate you, the public, and we want to educate the advisors and make more advisors available to you as professional philanthropic advisors. These are folks that are valuable in the sense that they can take you down the road to human kindness effectively, get you there in safe condition, not creating any problems for you. The last thing you want is to have any difficulties with legal matters and wondering whether or not you've done the right thing. That's not how this works. You can rely on this and you can trust it. It's been around for a long time. It's the same thing as 401k. If I were to say to you 401k is a number you should use, you don't really think about why it's good. You just know that it's something that's beneficial. It's a way to create a retirement account. Well, the same thing is true with Section 664 and Social Security. They are beneficial to you. You need to feel comfortable with using them. So what's the objective, the overall objective? Why did Congress pass these parts of the tax law? Why did Congress want to increase the charitable wealth in the country to be able to endow nonprofit organizations, to endow non-governmental organizations, 501c3 organizations? Those are all the same. Non-governmental organization, 501c3, and charitable organization, they're all the same. They're given a latitude from the Internal Revenue Service, from the Internal Revenue Code. You're given latitude to avoid taxation in exchange for creating a social benefit. And that's why they created these sections. They said, if you do something good for the social welfare of the country by creating something charitable and leaving a charitable bequest, we'll give you lower taxes while you're alive. That was the bargain that they made in Section 664 and the other sections that relate to social charity. They said, if you set up something that can be trusted, that it will go to charity when you pass, we'll give you lower taxes while you're alive. From that device, from that thought, they created the charitable gift annuities, charitable remainder trusts, and pooled income funds. And those are the three types of devices that mimic Social Security, and that's why they're called social charity. They're a way for you to put money into something and assets into something to create income for later. Income for you, and then benefits for all. What happens is you create an endowment for yourself by creating an income stream using charitable deductions to do that. You eventually promise that that charitable deduction, that charitable amount that you gave, will pass to charity when you pass on. How that's done, how that technique is followed, how that works is complicated, but it's not any more complicated than a 401k, trust me. When you look at the rules that govern 401ks with regard to top hats, highly paid individuals, there's a ratio. You have to have the right number of people in the plan that have low income compared to the people that have high income. And there's all sorts of tests that you have to go through, but those are all behind the scene. And that's the same thing here with Section 664 and Social Security. All of that confusion or that complication That's all behind the scene. It's not something that you deal with, but rather you have an administrator and trustee that do those jobs. Now, in some cases, you can be your own trustee. When you're dealing with child remainder trust, you can have your own individually designed trust that can be used for charitable planning and for tax planning and estate planning. You can create a way to pass value onto your heirs. That's very effective. You can increase your personal income by 25%. You can increase the amount that you leave to your heirs by about 25%. And you can do something really good for the community. And that's something that if you haven't seen how it works, you need to find out more about it. Our website is currently up and is functional. We're making some changes to it, but you can go to our website now. It's a lot to take in at once. There are a series of buttons on the front page, and they'll take you to documents that we've put on to show you who we are and what we've been doing. And then there's a process section, and then there's the media section, which has to do with our radio station. I guess the quickest way to find out more about this is to listen to some of the interviews that we've done with some of the professional philanthropic advisors. You can check our schedule. It's on the socialcharity.org website. The radio schedule is there every week. It's updated weekly to show you who is being replayed as far as interviews are concerned. You can also go to our library on YouTube or on Facebook and find by just putting certain information into the search bar, you'll find the recording that deals with some of these very specific things. So how do we change the world? How do we change things economically in this country? Well, we want to bring down the national debt. And bringing down the national debt can only be done by taking the government out of things that it's paying for now and allowing it to not have to pay for those things in the future. Right now, the government contributes. The government doesn't contribute. The government gives or grants money to non-governmental organizations. It grants money to 501c3s or to charities, charitable organizations. It makes those grants, and that is what needs to be changed. We need to change that from the government making the grants that way to you making the grants directly. It's much more effective. Why would you want to give tax dollars to the United States government and then the United States government give those tax dollars in the form of charitable gifts when you can give the charitable gifts directly yourself and benefit from it personally by paying lower tax? That's a much better way of doing it. And it helps because if the government is giving, let's say, $500 billion a year to non-governmental organizations, and we can replace that with the charitable planning devices which create endowment for those organizations, we can eliminate that burden from government and take it back to the private sector. One of the things that impressed me about the interview that I did with Rebecca Thyssen, if you look at the people in the video, the photos of Connor and the people around Connor, those are people in the community. Those are not people that are provided by the federal government. The federal government's not doing anything to support that. That's being supported by your community. Your community is the best place to support these services because they're directly in touch with you. If you have to go to a larger organization outside of where you are to get that, you're not the only one that's doing that. Everybody else is doing it at the same time. You don't get your fair share. Trust me, out of the tax dollars that you pay to the government, a very small percentage of it is coming back to your community to be able to help you in your community or to help those in your community. We want to do it directly, and you can do it directly with very powerful planning tools, these social security devices, Section 664, and the other devices that give you pooled income funds and charitable gift annuity, make them work for you. They are extremely powerful. We'll be with you again, same time, same station next week. Tune in to Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness.